like feu vert in French.
Yeah.
And she's just like, in English, do you guys call it green fire? And we're standing at this street corner, and it was the most confusing moment I've ever had in my life. And it's not even like I was trying to laugh at her or be disrespectful, but it was more just sincere confusion. Like, I had no clue what was going on. I thought she was joking. She was dead ass. We were both looking at each other on this street corner. Meanwhile, the light has changed 3 or 4 times. People are walking by us, looking at us like, what is wrong with these two people? Why are these two people just standing here at this street corner looking at each other? Not even talking. We're just looking at each other, confused. And I was just like, okay.
Yo, I can imagine, because like green fire sounds mad mythical. So someone told me, like, is it called a green fire? I'm like, yo, what? Like, did you just open up a portal to somewhere? Like, hold on.
Yo.
Like, green... I'd be lost.
No joke. It's one of the few times in my life where I was just like, I've never smoked weed, and I feel like if I smoked weed, this moment would have been heightened in a way.
It would make sense.
I would have been on her same wavelength, and we wouldn't have even stopped. I would have just looked at her and been like, you're damn right it is. And we would have just kept walking.
Like, high key. And then for the rest of your life, she's like, yeah, green lights. And then people are going to be like, what? She's like, didn't you tell me it's a green light? And you're like,
yeah, green fire. You're on the right page, girl.
Yo.
That's the thing.
That's actually funny.
As one of the so I don't smoke weed. I've never smoked weed. I've never tried it, and I feel like there's so many experiences in my life that I'm definitely confused or missing out on. And now that it's legal, even more so, my friends are just like, well, I mean, now it's legal, so it's not even fun if we get you to smoke it. And I was always just like, but I mean, what? Why isn't this? Aren't you guys happy now it's legal? Now we could smoke it. It wasn't like I wasn't smoking it because of the legality issue. I mean, my best friends were dealers in high school, so it's just like no one really cared. No one was paying attention. I legit knew how to roll a J, but never smoked one. Ever. Because I used to roll them with my buddy, but never smoke it.
You must have had a lot then. You had a lot of friends. Like, wow.
They trusted me too, because they would just leave me like, yeah, there's been some weird situations in my life where people have left me with copious amounts of drugs, knowing full well that, like, Brian ain't gonna touch nothing. Yeah, you like, I like the face you made. Okay, I'm like, are you sure? Maybe that's what got you started watching anime at 1.7 speed. I'm just saying. It could be. Man, I was trying to find that enlightenment. Okay, so I'll tell this story because I don't think I've ever told this story, and I don't feel bad telling the story because the person has gone on to do wonderful things, and the people that I was with, I don't really talk to them as much as I used to. So my buddy reaches out to me one night. We're all supposed to be going out, and I'm just like, cool. And we're in the car, and then a homeboy, like 2 of the other homeboys, pick us up, and we're driving, and we're going downtown, and we get one of the guy who's driving is just like, yo, it's just gonna take 5 minutes. I just gotta drop something off, and we're all like, okay. So he drives, and he takes us into like some random side street downtown, and like turns off some other side street, and we pull into a parking lot, and then the guy in the passenger side. Go to the back, take out 2 big bags, go over to this other car, give the big bags to the other guys, give them bags, and they get back in the car with the bags, and then we leave. Yeah. So you've seen me, you know my size. Some people, I'm a big guy, but if you know me, you know I'm a big guy, but I'm not intimidating in the slightest. And that's the disadvantage. That's one thing where it's like, the minute you put me in an actual dangerous situation, you've lost because I won't help. I'm not like, I mean, if I'm in a fight or flight situation and I have to fight, I'll fight and I'll hold down. But if I'm in a situation where it's like you're trying to intimidate, having me there quiet will help you. But the moment I open my mouth and I start going, man, I got to tell you, that last episode of Dragon Ball Z, I don't think that was it. And, if the type of people that are bringing duffel bags full of money and possibly duffel bags full of allegedly drugs have me being the muscle that seems like a bad decision on all fronts. And that was the story. I don't know why.
They're just pulling up there in the corner with the bags, and then they just see you, and you're like, you know what, guys? I do think it's not bad to watch anime at 1.7 speed. They're gonna be like, all right, let's go.
I will say this though, one of my favorite experiences is I was hanging out with a bunch of like random people, and these two dudes who definitely look like the shadiest of shady characters I've ever met in my life sit down because they overheard me talking about cartoons and TV shows, and these dudes sat down and were just like, hey, word, yo, man, that's my favorite show. And then they just went into like the geekiest of geeky conversations. And I'm telling you, if you told me these guys were strapped up, I would have been like, of course. Like, why would I question if these guys are strapped up? These homies look strapped up. And then they were talking to me about like Finn and Adventure Time. And I was just like, it is always so interesting to see what hits in whatever part of the world and whatever group. Like whoever finds something interesting, I would love to talk to those guys. The guys who work on those TV shows and be like, how do you feel when your TV show hits in like with street kids and like just guys who strap up and run around in the streets just living their best life but are also hardcore killers that would just take care of business if they have to, but for some reason they like to laugh at your show.
Yo, but isn't that cartoons though?
Yeah,
like I feel like a lot of like people from the streets are like high key like cartoon fanatics.
Oh, yeah, for real. There was a convention in New York I went to, and one of the panels was hip hop, kung fu, and comic books, and that was one of my favorite panels I've ever been to. It was real.
That sounds like it was lit.
Yeah, one of the guys on the panel was from DC Comics. One of the guys was a banger who was turned hip hop artist who was in a wheelchair because he'd gotten shot, and then the other guy was who was the other dude? I don't remember who the other dude was, but they were talking about the intersection between hip hop culture, kung fu culture, and comic books. And then they started talking about, speaking of that new Shang-Chi movie that's supposed to come out, they were talking about that character a lot because they were talking like Bruce Lee and that whole movement in the 70s and like late 70s, early 80s martial art type thing. It was really dope. Oh, shout outs to quick shout outs to Vanessa.
That would have been my favorite.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I just want to say shout out to all the people who are tuned in on IG and the people that are tuned in on Facebook. And now that we're officially on Facebook properly, let us begin. Aislinn, I am so happy to have you on the show. How are you doing today? You're so cute.
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me here. I'm actually mad excited.
So one of the first things that I was asked to tell you was from one of my followers on IG. They are in love with your IG stories, like the video game bobbing character things you're doing. They're like, one guy was just like, is she single? Because any girl that can blend hip hop and like gaming in like a perfect TikTok video is the type of girl I want in my life. And I was just like, I will ask, but I would imagine with a smile like that, she probably isn't. I'll tell you that now.
Yo, you guys are killing me. Yo, like dead ass. Like my little sister, she's on TikTok and she knows everything.
Okay.
And she's like, yo, you should like, you're a crackhead at home, so you should just do videos. And I was like, I'll just do it for fun. Like I was really just like, what you see there is like me chilling at home. Like that at home, awesome. We're crackheads. And so I just started posting, and then people are just like, bro. And I'm like, y'all like this content?
Yo, for real.
I mean, thanks for rocking with me.
The characters, it's so funny. What was the one this morning that it ended with his parents are away in Cuba and he invited you? Like I was crying. I was just like, what? Like, and that was the first one. And I was just like, oh, these are only going to get crazy. So I just started scrolling through all of them and laughing my head off. Like, so,
yo. Thanks, G.
Is TikTok going to be something that you're going to continue? Like, I know this is quarantine times. A lot of people are jumping on TikTok. I've been seeing, like, I jumped on it a couple months ago before the quarantine just because I've been hearing people talking about it. And I like to, one of the things I do for branding is I lock down my name on all the social media apps as quickly as possible. So like when a new app shows up, I try and lock down the account for Brian Holidae just so that no one else can mess with my name. You know, like out there doing stuff in my name. It's all under one name.
That's smart.
Yeah. So when I saw, so then I started seeing everybody I know jumping on it during the quarantine. And I was just like, man, I really should have started doing those videos. I would have been ahead of the curve here. And then you came along with your light setup and your whole thing, and your family doing dances and stuff. And I was just like, nope, this is not for me. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done as well. I know I wouldn't have done as well.
Bro, stop it. You would have killed it. Do a whole like Transformers as people you know in the office type thing. You would go viral.
Oh my God. I have so many Legos. You just made me think of something. I might have to start doing some Lego stuff. Because I can have the X-Wing fighting the Quinjet. Nah, I'm just playing. I can't do that. I'm a 36-year-old man. If I start doing videos with Lego.
Come on, bro. What? Don't nobody care.
That's true.
It's about what you do.
True. So tell me a bit. So I'm really excited because you are launching a series that's going to be you producing and writing content with people. Is it just writing, or are you showing them music production? Like, what's the whole process?
So basically for this series, what the whole concept behind this was an idea I've had at work for a bit. I was like, damn, I feel like teaching people how to write, like the structure of writing.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of singers and I know a lot of artists, and they have a hard time writing. But when I meet up with them, they're like, oh my God, like your technique is so dope. It's so easy. So I was like, let me teach people how to do it. So this first series, I was going to start off by teaching people how to write. I wanted to go to things that are really relatable. So the one that I'm releasing tomorrow is how to write a hit R&B love song from like the 90s.
Oh, dope.
Real easy stuff. But then I'm thinking of maybe making a little bit more on like, especially rapping, because freestyle is kind of a bit my niche. And I feel that people would kind of want to boost. So it's really focused on just writing a song for now.
Okay. And have you been writing for, how long have you been writing? How long have you been making music?
I would say a hot minute. Like I've always been involved in music and singing since I was like a young kid. My mom herself is a huge hip hop head.
Oh, dope.
So ever since I was a kid, like when I got my first MP3 player, she was like, you're not listening to no Eminem. You're not listening. It's Run DMC. It's Kirk Franklin.
Oh, like, okay.
All of that she put me on. So I have to tell you, I'm telling you, she's a OG. She knows her sounds. But for real, since I was a young kid, writing has always been something I did. When I grew up and I was in high school, 3 of us girls were actual singers. Okay. And we decided to form a group. And at that time, I hadn't developed my singing yet. And so they taught me a bit how to sing, but they're like, you're good at rap. So anything that was like a rap part, that was me. Oh, dope. And then I got classes. I was part of the gospel choir. And then that's how like singing got a bit more perfected.
Okay. So did you feel a connection to the left eye-ness of life? Because that's like, was it a little bit TLC? Like what, Lisa Left Eye? I mean, she is easily one of my favorite artists. And when it came to rapping, a lot of people don't give her flowers, but she deserves her flowers. Like, she held it down, and the some of the best TLC tracks you can link back to just like, don't get me wrong, T-Boz and Chili were great, and they brought their voices to it. But then when Left Eye would bring out that energy, you'd be like, oh, this is a banger. Like, I can bop to this, And I feel like a lot of people were just back in the day, and that's the unfortunate part, right? Commercial radio didn't want to play hip hop back then, so there's a lot of times where they would have to do a radio edit version that didn't have the rap at all.
That's whack. Yeah, I still don't get that.
And now I didn't
no,
realize
for real, it really looks like that.
I didn't realize you did the hip hop thing. I don't know how to rap at all. When did you discover your skills as a freestyle artist?
I'm about to do a video. I'm gonna have to do a video then. I'm gonna do Rap 101.
Yes, please, because some of us who live in the culture and have been like, that's the thing.
No, for real.
I used to host a radio hip hop show all the time, and I was always just like listening to the music, and I felt like, I know I don't have to be a rapper to be able to listen to this and to play this music, but I kind of feel like I would have a better understanding if I tried to see what it was like, and then I would freestyle, and I would be like, nope, Not at all. Yeah.
Yo.
It was very much.
Bro.
It was like, well,
it's not hard. It's practice. It's practice. I would say it's practice.
Okay. And so when you were doing it and you were practicing, what was like, because that's the thing. I practiced, but I was just like, I suck at this, so I'm going to stop. You practice and you were just like, I'm okay at this. I can get better. Like, what told you, what was the motivation to continue?
Yo, low key, I have to say, this isn't only for rap, this is also for music for me, is that I always had a pull to it. When you start off in anything, you're not really that good. And like me, when I was a kid, I was friends with girls that had been singing in the church for like years. So these girls can do riffs and runs. And I was friends with the dudes that like collect J. Cole CDs. So these people knew rap. And I would always look at them and I'd be like, yo, I'm not that good. But I feel such like a draw to rap. Like when I was a kid, one of my favorite artists was like Lil Wayne, because he would just spit corny verses and like catchphrases. But I felt like such a drawn to it. Like I feel like, yo, if I was Lil Wayne, like I would be in my power. So that's what kind of kept me in, and just never kind of giving up on it and keeping it to myself. And then eventually when you open up to people, people are like, damn, you're good. And I was like, really? Because I'm just playing. I'm just playing at this point.
Who were your favorite hip hop artists? Lil Wayne, you've mentioned. Your mom had you listening to Run DMC. But who were like the people that, other than Lil Wayne, because you said you skipped Eminem. For example, when I was in high school, even if I didn't want to, Eminem was someone you had to listen to. Like, he was around. That was just a thing. And then by the time because you're a little bit younger than me, but, well, no, quite a bit younger. I'm an old-ass man right now. But by the time you were listening to, in high school, listening to hip-hop, who were the hot people? Like, you mentioned J. Cole, you mentioned Lil Wayne. What was popping right at that time?
Yo, that's a good question. When I was really young, like in primary school, I remember this because the popular kids were listening to 50 Cent and Eminem. And if you didn't know 50 Cent or Eminem, you were irrelevant. And I didn't know them at all. But when I got to high school, everybody was listening to Drake and Big Sean. If you wanted to be like a little bit edgy, you would know Jay-Z. But those were like the top names people would listen, or like Lil Wayne, J. Cole, Tyga. Oh my God. All the popular dudes were blasting Tyga on their little portable Bluetooth speaker.
My God. I feel like it's such a generational shift. Because you like, if you don't mind me asking, you're born after 95? No, earlier than 95. Right?
97.
Oh shit.
I'm still a millennial, okay? Let me be a millennial.
No, I was gonna say you're not a millennial. I was gonna say, because I have a coworker, her and I are always arguing, and she's just like, she tells me I'm not a millennial, and I'm like, yo, why is it that you get to call yourself a millennial and I'm actually a millennial? I was born in 83. I graduated high school in 2000. Like, I'm an actual millennial. And then she's born in 93, 94. And she's always just like, nah, you're old. You're Gen X. You're a Zennial. You're whatever. And tries to take it away from me. Meanwhile, you're over here wanting to be a millennial.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm sorry, but
yo,
I don't think you get to claim it.
I'm a 90s baby.
Yeah,
let me be great.
I don't know if you get to. I don't know if you get.
Yo, your generation. Every single time I say like I'm born in 97, like I'll just like say a joke, right? I'll be like, damn, I haven't eaten since 1997. And they all stop what they're doing and look at me and be like, oh my God. And I'm just like, don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah.
I listen to Big Papa, and I know who Tupac is. Let me be great.
My God, wait. Were you around when they passed? You're not even You're not around when they passed.
Funny fact, Tupac died on my birthday a year before I was born.
Oh my God. That is the I like that you call yourself a 90s baby in the sense that you were literally born at the end of the 90s. You are an actual 90s baby.
let me be great.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's funny because the same way you are now.
I love the 90s. That's why.
No, and that's the thing. I can imagine being born in when you were born. I won't say it again because I don't want to shame you any more than I have. But being a child, being young in the early 2000s, and just consuming all the content that was created in the 90s, and the internet being just readily available, showing you like everything that was created in the 90s. As soon as the internet became a thing, we were all just trying to put it on the internet as much as possible. That was a thing when I was a kid. Like if you had a CD, if someone had a cassette, if there was a movie, people were just like, rip it to the internet somehow, put it on YouTube, like anything you can. So you're there sitting down like, these adults, these like 80s and 70s babies are on their internet are just like giving me all the free content, like all so I get it.
Listen.
Yeah. That's pretty
I'm
fucking awesome.
I'm telling you, like for me, the 90s, I'll cling on to it. People like argue like it's the cutoff is 95. I'm like, that sign can't stop me because I can't read.
Yes, that's I mean, that's fair though. I get wanting the 90s to, because as someone who lived through the 2000s pretty much as an adult, like I was a teenager. I graduated from high school in 2000, so watching the world in 2000 and just kind of like seeing everything be the way it was, I could understand why the 90s seems like so much better, because the early 2000s didn't really the knots, is that what it's called? The aughts? I don't know what the term is for the 2 zeros. Like there's like a term in the UK that they use, the knots. It's like the 80s, 90s, the knots, and the 10s and the 20s. Yeah, the Brits have a number or a term for everything.
Wow.
But that's the thing. Like,
I don't know that because I'm not part of that generation.
Fair.
I wouldn't know
of
that.
course. Have you ever just outright lied about being born earlier in the 90s? Like, I definitely, when I was younger, would regularly lie to older girls, being like, "Oh no, I'm born in like '79, girl." Like, I would give myself 4 years, 100.
Yo, high key though, I don't because people assume I'm like born in 93, 95 usually. So when I say I'm born in 97, 9 times out of 10 people like stop and look at me like, what? You are a child. And I'm like, excuse me, I pay the same taxes you do. Okay, we're the same.
Same page. Yeah. My God.
Okay. But for real, like naturally people think like, oh, 92, 93, 95.
Okay. But they don't, and they're not saying it as in you look older. They're just saying it because your cultural references, like because you know so much about. Oh, sorry, it cut out. What were you saying?
Yeah, it's like I was the youngest in my class.
Okay.
Yeah, because usually I've always been the youngest of my class. To this day, most of my friends are 24, 25, 26, 27, all the way to 30. So just naturally, I've always been with like the years older than me.
Yeah.
And so I usually like what they refer to, what they're doing, like what's going on in kind of that generation. I'm also familiar, but I'm the oldest of 5 kids. So I'm also familiar with like what these little kids are doing.
Oh my God. Okay. So you got to explain some of the things that the kids are into right now. First off, because you explained this to me and I really appreciated it, and Brandon and I talked about it on the show a couple days ago. NAJ, which you explained to me stands for and I oop. Can you give, for those of us who don't know, I know now because you informed me. Thank you. I genuinely appreciate that, because Brandon and I talking about it on that other episode made us sound insanely old. Like we sounded old when we were just like, NAJ? What does that mean? Like that's not a good look. That wasn't a good look. I looked back at that and I was just like, oof, if ever I wanted the kids not to watch my show, I did that. I set the line there. So,
oh my God, yo, you dead.
Please tell me, what is it?
You killed me.
Tell me again.
When you Like, just when you told me that, I was like, wait, there's some people who don't know what this means. Like, it comes from like, so there's this drag queen that's really popular if you follow internet culture. This person is hilarious. And they make a video and it's a story time. And when the person gets up, they bang their crotch on the table and they're like, and I, but then they freeze for like 30 seconds and they go like, okay, that's it. I'm turning off the camera. And so it's now like, it became a meme, but now it's like a term you say when like you're taken aback. Like, I don't know, someone says like, yo, what's wrong with your hair? And you're like, what's wrong with your hair? And you'd be like, and I, like, that's basically what it means.
I just like that.
That's basically what it is.
I like that the moment comes from someone hitting their crotch and it's turned into a line for just sheer shock of like the audacity of the return. Like, and I,
yo, that's what it is. Like, anytime someone says something, like we'd be at our work and I had this one coworker, he was just so funny. And he'd be like, yo, why is this patient calling me like, and everyone be like, oh, like,
yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Are there any other things, any other sayings that I, as an old ass man who doesn't understand TikTok, needs to know as I venture back into the TikTok world? I feel like there's a lot of stuff I'm missing. I also feel like my hat's not fitting my head properly and I look like a dork, so I'm going to fix that.
In TikTok?
Yeah. TikTok culture. Well, okay, first things first. Why are the dances so popular?
Yo, that's a good question.
Okay.
Like, honestly, because for those who don't know, TikTok is actually an application that was created in China.
Yeah. So
it's not an American app. It's a Chinese app. And it just blew up in China and just blew up in the States.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if people know, but China has this thing where it's laws where they don't take American brands, they copy it. So example, Uber doesn't exist in China. They have their own rendition. TikTok was kind of the Chinese rendition of what Vine was. And Vine had evolved to a point where people were like lip syncing and like looking cute and just like singing and like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so they made their rendition, but they were kind of like doing cooler stuff. So by the time it came to the States, people were like doing like these little dances and lip syncing kind of like Vine.
Yeah.
But it evolved to the point where like people wanted to do like these complex dances in like 15 seconds or under. And it just blew these kids up, you know?
Yeah, because some of these kids have huge followings. I see like there are kids who have TikTok accounts with millions of followers who are like brand ambassadors and get invited to like conventions and stuff just for kids to like come out and see. Yeah. There's like VidCon, which is a thing that I don't understand or know what those words even mean. I assume it means video convention.
You don't know what VidCon is?
I know the words video and convention together make VidCon, and I assume it's a convention for people who make video content. But have I ever watched anything from VidCon? Do I get what VidCon is? Yes and no.
Wow.
It's a time like this where you don't want to claim to be a millennial. This is when you don't want to be one of us.
like let me rewind you. I gotta rewind you. Okay, so you remember Vine, right?
Yes, of course. Vine's one of the things I remember because Vine was cool when I was still like I'm an original Twitter user, and then Vine came along and IG came along, and we were just like, oh, okay, these kids coming out with these new things. We're still gonna be over here with our 140 characters. Anyways, you can add pictures now. Sorry.
Like, you actually killed me because I'm just like, okay, wow. So okay,
I had MySpace. I had MySpace. Okay.
Yo, bro, it's like when Vine first came out, like it was funny.
Yeah.
But then it got to this point where kids like my age, this was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, give or take.
Yeah.
Where they were like doing funny videos, like, you know, like hood vines and all that stuff. Like people were doing that and it was super funny. But then there's like these precise kids that were not ugly, let's just say that.
Okay.
And they would do funny like skits and stuff, but they would also like lip sync to songs, and they blew up and got like really a huge following. So there's this business guy who met up with them and was like, let's form a collective of you kids that like do pranks, and like it's really nothing, like it's no-brainer stuff.
Yeah.
But he was like, I'm gonna get you guys into a group, and we're gonna tour the United States because people love you, and they can pay $100 for a ticket and see you. And that was MagCon, and MagCon blew up. It's disbanded now, and probably like not people older than me wouldn't know, and kids really young would not know.
Okay.
But they blew up. Like, these kids were the kings of the internet at the time. And them, the popular Viners, the popular YouTubers and all that would go to VidCon. And VidCon is like a huge convention of like YouTubers. Now it's TikTokers. Before there was a lot of Viners. And you got like, there's a ton of 30-year-old there. What are you talking about? There's like 30-year-olds with families that do family vlogs that go there. They're like,
yeah, but that's the thing I find interesting about like social media. You have the different groups, and by God, when you do the next one, if you do a the same type of thing you've been doing with the video, the like video game thing, but if you do like the YouTuber, the Instagrammer, the Twitter, please dedicate that one to me. I would love that. But yeah. All
right.
And then you could do a nod to like the MySpacers, and it's just us crying in a corner, looking at the internet, shaking back and forth alone, just broken because no one cared about us and we died.
Yo, you people are crazy. Y'all are not that old.
No, but I mean, it was just funny because MySpace. So there's actually a study, and I don't know where it is now, but there's a study that shows MySpace and the rise and fall of MySpace, and they use that as a graph to identify when other social media apps. Oh, my camera's falling. When other social media apps might start to fall to the wayside, they use it as a comparison. Because MySpace was the perfect example of viral popularity and then a complete fall off. And it's like I didn't read the full study, but I know that they were able to pinpoint certain things that MySpace did that really messed up the brand, like going too corporate, aligning themselves with specific different brands and stuff like that weren't necessarily favorable to a younger demographic, and so on and so forth. Because they, at the time, they didn't think that young people had the money, or potentially didn't have the money to invest in these things, so they didn't. They were trying to get that classic demographic of 25 to 34 or 55 or whatever, when kids who are 18 to 25 were the ones actually using the internet and social media.
Yeah.
So
that makes a lot of sense. Because that would explain why something like YouTube and maybe not Facebook, but YouTube won't falter, because 8-year-olds, like there's this 8-year-old that does toy reviews that's got 1 million of followers, but there's also like 50-year-olds that do their own niche that have millions of followers as well. Like, YouTube identifies with everybody, so I don't see it really going away. Whereas like something like MySpace, when they like swooped in one demographic, that demographic went peace, and then it fell off.
I really do. And I mean, even for Facebook, like last year when I was at my job, all the interns are around your age, and there's one point where I was sitting and I genuinely wanted to understand, and I asked the interns, I was just like, okay, why do you use this specific app to communicate with your friends over any other app? So some of them are using Snapchat, some of them are using IG, some of them are using Messenger, some of them are using WhatsApp. None of them were using Telegram, which is the one I use, and I was just like, okay, so no one really cares about Telegram. And then we just had this conversation, and it was interesting to understand. I see you laughing at Telegram. Telegram's for the old people.
I don't know what that is. Like what you just said, I was like, a telegram, like in the 50s, like World War II?
No, yeah. So Telegram was one of the original. Okay, so this is where I get to be a geek, and I get to show a little bit of my knowledge. The encryption, text message encryption game has been a very interesting one, and they've been trying to. Everyone's been trying to do point-to-point encryption, right? And Mark Cuban, who owns the Dallas Mavericks, actually was one of the biggest investors in an app called Cyberdust, if I'm not mistaken. And that was one of the like first peer-to-peer encryption. Like they were like, and like it was the same way how Snapchat has the dissolving message. They had that from the beginning, so you could send a message, it dissolved, and it was also encrypted, and that was a big thing. And then Telegram became popular in parts of Europe and the Middle East. Unfortunately, it got linked to a lot of like negative terrorist activity because some of the supposedly some of the cells were using it as a way to communicate because the encryption was so good at the time, and they also had an option where like the stuff would disappear. But then I ended up by the time, and then WhatsApp at the time was still growing and doing really well, and everyone was using WhatsApp because it offered like, you know, essentially you could text message anyone anywhere in the world as long as they had Wi-Fi, and I was just like, that's fair. But then WhatsApp wasn't encrypted at the time, and Telegram was, so me and my friends all switched over to Telegram, and it's not because we had anything to hide. Like a lot of people were just like, why are y'all switching over to this encrypted app? And I was just like, because I feel like cybersecurity is important. Like we are putting so much information out into the world. It's a good idea to have some layer of protection. So like, yes, I'm just talking stupidity with my best friend, but I don't necessarily want someone to hack that stupidity and have access to all of our conversations. You know what I'm saying? And then that's just what it was. Eventually,
it's fair enough because my brother is really into like.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you cut out. What was that?
Oh, I was saying, go ahead. You were saying your brother's really into. Oh, is it still cutting?
Yeah, he's really into cybersecurity and like that whole niche. Like even he had his own computer. Someone gave him like this broken laptop and he ordered parts and built it from scratch. And even him, he was like reading on these books and stuff. And he told my mom like, yeah, you should switch to this mail account. And she's like, why? And he's like, well, Google tracks all your emails.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like, what, 18? Like, what does he have? But he's really big on, he's like, I don't have anything to hide, but he's just like, what I do is my business. I don't think it's fair that anybody else has access to what I do. So he's got like his email account is like this Swedish email server and it encrypts your emails. And I get what he's saying. Like I get that you're like, why should anybody else know what I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah. Like it's such a funny thing to tell people, what do you have to be afraid of? What are you hiding? As opposed to the idea of like, well, you're allowed to have your own privacy. And that's the funny thing. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so I'm excited.
You know, it's just that. It's just like
you're going to be dropping those videos on IG. They're going to be coming out on IG. Are they going to be available on any other platforms?
Which ones?
The videos, the writing videos. The like writing, composing, freestyling, R&B composer, all that, everything that you're gonna feed to the people.
Yeah. That is gonna be. I drop it. It's a IGTV.
Okay.
So I'm dropping it on IGTV. I tried to post it on Facebook, but when I did, it lowers the quality. It really lowers the quality. I'm really at loss. So I want to fix it. But currently, I'm trying to push all my content around TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay.
It's just a question of like Facebook is jacking up my quality. I don't know why. I don't know what I did to Mark Zuckerberg, but like.
Zuckerberg. I am a computer. I will help you fix this. Sorry. I mean, that's a bad Zuckerberg impression. Actually, a Zuckerberg impression would be have less words and just look really sad and confused. Yo, Zuckerberg, I'm on your platform dissing you. Do you care? No, you're a billionaire. I see how it is. Yes. This man. Yo, shout outs to Jack Dorsey. Is it Dorsey, the guy from Twitter? He's donating $1 billion to the coronavirus research stuff.
Wow.
I feel like these billionaires need to step up.
That's impressive. I don't know.
Like, legit, at this point.
I mean,
Like, I get that.
Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I get that the idea of, like,
you know?
It's mine. Why do I have to give it to you? The whole American dream is, like, I worked hard to get here, so I don't owe it to anybody. But at the same time, you are working off the backs of, like, without the people, Twitter doesn't exist. So I get Jack being like, yo, let me give this money out It's like Amazon. If none of us were buying anything, would you have Amazon? You know? You know what I mean?
First of all, I deserve sponsorship from Amazon. Amazon, if you hear this, sponsor me because listen.
Yo, right now with this global pandemic situation and the quarantine, thankfully I haven't gone crazy. I especially since I got laid off, so I was just like, maybe I should be out here buying everything. So I stopped buying stuff for a minute. But the temptation on the daily basis to just order something to receive a gift, you know that feeling when you like get hear the doorbell and you're just like, something's here for me, and it's like, nah man, that's not healthy. That's yeah exactly. Yeah, it's not healthy.
I know, but like, you know, like, yeah. I did a huge, like, I feel you on that. Like, I haven't ordered things in like a long time, and I just did like this huge clean out and renovation of my room, and I was like, instead of buying stuff I don't need, like, let me buy adult stuff. Let me buy drawers. Let me buy like hangers and organizers and like all those things. And I was like, you know what? If I want to start like actually doing the content that I've been wanting to do, let me invest in like a ring light, a tripod. And ever since I got those things, I don't know how to act. Is this how y'all people feel? Is this how it feels? Is this how it feels to be a content creator?
Yo, I mean, you see the background here. You see the mic stand. Like, as soon as I got all this stuff and moved into this space, I got laid off, and my first thought was, well, I guess I'm just gonna podcast daily now. Like, I have no reason not to. I have the equipment. I know people. Y'all are awesome. Yep. I want to talk to you guys every day. I want to brag about how amazing you people are. So, seems like a simple plan. Okay,
that's really it.
Aislinn, I loved talking with you today. Thank you so much for coming on Not a Journalist and geeking out and teaching me so much. I really appreciate all the stuff you taught me. I'm going to keep watching your content. I am looking forward to the Twitter, IG, whatever, like, game opening character selection. I please, for me.
I will. I got you.
I'm so excited.
You, dog. For real. I got you.
Yeah, and don't forget MySpace crying in a corner. Yeah, that's it. I mean, thank you so much for coming through. And do you want to tell people what your handles are on your social media?
Yo, all right, man. Thanks for having me. My handles are on IG at HipHopTycoon, as well as Snapchat, and my Twitter is Trapping in Heaven. TikTok as well, Trappin, TRAPIN INHEAVEN. That is me.
Dope. Thank you so much. That is all, folks. Thanks you once again for tuning into another edition of Not a Journalist. We're going to be back tomorrow. Oh, wait, tomorrow's Wednesday. Oh, Geektastic Cypher tomorrow. If you guys are tuned in, make sure to tune in to Geektastic Cypher tomorrow. Also, your last chances to vote are coming. April 12th is the deadline, 11:59 p.m., one entry per person. The ballot, you have to fill out 25 categories minimum. Morning Detour for Best Radio Show, Wizzy Moon Chaser for Best Radio Host, FranklinArmstrong.com for Best Website, Action Figgy Skinny for Best IG, Geektastic Cypher for Best Podcast, category 24. Thank you, Aislinn, so much. Guys, we're out. Take care, everybody.
Peace.